Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are jumping right into one of the most important pieces of tech legislation, well, ever. We're talking about the European Union's Artificial Intelligence Act.
On one hand, AI holds this incredible promise, a future filled with medical breakthroughs and solutions for climate change. But there's a flip side, a real one. It also comes with huge dangers, from threatening our basic rights to enabling manipulation on a scale we've never seen before. And it's this exact tension, this promise versus peril, that the EU is trying to tackle with its brand new rulebook.
Okay, so let's get into the EU's big solution, the AI Act. Now, this isn't just some minor update or another piece of regulation. This is the world's very first attempt to build a complete legal framework for all of artificial intelligence. It's a huge deal.
At the very core of this whole thing is a really smart, powerful idea. The Act says, hey, not all AI is the same. So instead of a clumsy, one-size-fits-all approach, it sorts AI systems based on the level of risk they pose, to our health, to our safety, to our fundamental rights. And the logic is simple. The higher the risk, the tougher the rule.
This whole risk-based idea creates a framework that's actually pretty easy to picture. Just think of it like a pyramid, with different levels of rules for different kinds of AI.
So the Act creates 4 distinct categories. Down at the bottom, the foundation of the pyramid, you've got minimal risk systems. They have almost no new rules. You climb a step up, you find limited risk systems, which have some basic transparency requirements. Keep going, and you hit the high-risk category, which is very tightly regulated. And then, right at the very top, the peak, that's for unacceptable risk. And what's at that peak? Well, these are things considered so dangerous to European values that they're just banned, outright. We're talking about things like social scoring systems run by governments, or creating huge facial recognition databases by just scraping the internet for pictures, or using emotion reading tech on people at work or in school. The EU is basically saying these things cross a red line, period.
But here's the really crucial part. This whole thing isn't designed to kill innovation. Not at all. The vast majority of AI that we interact with every single day, your spam filter, the AI that helps you in a video game, all of that stuff falls right into that bottom minimal risk category. It can pretty much keep operating as is. The Act is really designed to be a laser, not a sledgehammer, focusing only on the applications that could do the most harm.
All right, now the Act gets really interesting when it talks about the most powerful and flexible AI models out there, what it calls general-purpose AI, or GPAI. These are basically the engines driving the whole AI revolution that we're living through right now.
So what is a GPAI model? Well, it's defined by just how much it can do. Think about the huge models behind things like ChatGPT, or the AI that creates those incredible images from just a text prompt. Because they're so flexible and can be plugged into almost anything, they pose a totally unique challenge for regulators.
And when one of these GPAI models gets powerful enough, the Act says it poses something called systemic risk. It's a serious term. It refers to the kind of risk that could have a massive negative ripple effect across all of society, on our safety, on our rights, all because that one model is so capable and so widespread.
Which, of course, leads to the million-dollar question, right? How in the world do you draw an objective line in the sand? How do you decide which models are powerful enough to need these extra rules and which ones aren't? Where's the boundary?
Well, the AI Act gives a surprisingly specific and very technical answer. It sets a hard, numerical threshold. A model is automatically considered to have systemic risk if the total amount of computing power used to train it, measured in something called floating point operations, or FLOPS, goes over 10 to the 25th power. That's a mind-bogglingly huge number.
And what's so fascinating about this is that the EU is literally tying regulation to a hard technical spec. A passage from the Act itself says that, for right now, the sheer amount of computation used for training is seen as a good enough proxy for a model's power. It gives developers a really clear test.
So, if a model crosses that line, or if it's considered high risk for other reasons, who's actually on the hook? Who's responsible for making sure everything is up to code?
The Act is really clear about this. It sets up a chain of responsibility by defining 2 main roles. You've got the providers. Those are the folks who build the AI and put it out there. They're on the hook for risk assessments and detailed documentation. And then you have the deployers.
the people or companies actually using the AI. Their job is to use it correctly and make sure a human is keeping an eye on things.
And to make sure everyone takes this seriously, these rules have some serious teeth. For the worst offenses, like using a banned AI system, we're talking about fines up to 35 million euros or 7% of a company's total worldwide annual income, whichever number is bigger. For a tech giant, that could easily be billions of dollars. It's a crystal clear signal that they mean business.
Okay, but what about the whole world of open source AI? You know, the models that are built out in the open collaboratively. The Act knows that these are a different kind of animal.
So, to help keep that spirit of innovation alive, the Act gives open source models a bit of a pass on some rules, like the need for super detailed tech documents. But, and these are two really big buts, that special treatment goes right out the window if an open source model is powerful enough to be labeled systemic risk. And second, all models, no exceptions, have to have a policy that respects EU copyright law. So when you pull it all together, the AI Act is truly a landmark. It's creating the first ever comprehensive playbook for this technology that's just moving at a dizzying pace. And by doing that, it's setting a benchmark that the rest of the world is now watching very, very closely.
And that leaves us with the big final question, doesn't it? The EU is making a bet that by creating clear guardrails, it will build the public trust that AI needs to really thrive. But the critics are worried that those same rules might just slow down the next big breakthrough. So has the EU struck the perfect balance between safety and innovation? Honestly, only time will tell.